Metal Fusion is one of the best eras of Beyblade, hands down. Now, the Beyblade Metal Saga overall was the best thing to happen to Beyblade by far, but honestly, it would not have been what it was without how amazing Metal Fusion was. After all, it started the Metal Saga. The Metal Saga was made up of 4 eras: Metal Fusion, Metal Masters, Metal Fury, and then finally, Shogun Steel. Now, you might think the reason why I believe Metal Fusion to be the best is because of nostalgia. But I can assure you that is not the case, and I will prove to you why Metal Fusion is the best Beyblade by far. First, let's talk about the memory-inducing intro music that this show has.
Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip. Let's fight an epic battle. Face off and spin the metal. No time for doubt now. No place for backing down. Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip. Beyblade, Beyblade, let it rip.
The funny thing is they use the same song for both Metal Masters and Metal Fury as well, just changing the words to match the season. Shogun Steel has its own theme music, but it was eh. It just did not hit home like the original. Now, Metal Fusion was the start of an amazing show. It was 4 seasons long with 51 episodes. In this era, we see a lot more character growth than any other. For example, Benkei and Kiyoya start out as rivals of Jinga and his friends, and end up joining them later on, redeeming themselves for their past mistakes. Kiyoya and Ryuga are the 2 main enemies of this era. Kiyoya is always fighting over whether to choose revenge and power, or what's best for the people around him. Ryuga was a normal blader corrupted by the Dark Nebula in the evil Beyblade they convinced him to steal from Jenga's home village, while Tsubasa, a spiritual calm guy that no one would ever known was a double agent. Even looking back at it, his intentions were never clear until they were revealed. Yu, a young child tricked into working for the Dark Nebula, all he cares about is the thrill and fun of battling. He joins the good guys once he realizes he was fighting for the wrong side. Benkei, a bully that would beat up kids, slowly becomes a father figure to the younger bladers. The first time you see this is when he decides to help train Kenta Yumiya to beat a rival. Kenta was a young kid that Benkei used to beat up and steal from all the time. In fact, the first scene of the show was Jenga saving Kenta from Benkei. Now let's talk about the villains a little more. The Dark Nebula is an organization led by Doji that serves as the main antagonist of the Metal Saga as a whole. They appear under different names in other seasons, but they're mostly directly involved in the Metal Fusion era. The other seasons, they are just in the background pulling the strings. But in this era, their goal was to unleash the power of the Forbidden Bay, El Drago, on the world and take it over. Anyone could join them and be made more powerful using questionably legal methods or other ways to give you more power that skipped the many years training usually took. But there was a massive catch if you lost or failed them. Then Ryuga would take your soul basically to make himself stronger. They called it a blader's spirit, but without it you were basically left in a vegetative/zombie-like state. So very high risk. My favorite scene about this is when Doji loses to Phoenix near the end. Even Ryuga betrays Doji and takes his soul, using Doji's own methods against him, showing there's no mercy even for the leader of the Dark Nebula.
Don't you know how hard I've worked? Everything I've done for you and the organization? After all that, I won't be allowed to see the world you reign over. But why?
Don't worry. I promise that I will bring you with me into my new world, one way or another.
Ah!
As part of my Dark Bay, Lightning El Drago, let it rip! The Dark Nebula organization has no need for frightened people. El Drago!
Also, let's just talk about Doji for a second. I love this man. Every second this evil man is on screen is amazing. He is the perfect villain character.
It must be Wednesday, because it's time to take out the trash.
He's so calm and collected as he toys with Jinga and his friends, as if they were in a game of chess, always forcing him to make choices that benefit him in the long run. He would totally got what he deserved in the end, of course, but you honestly did not see it coming. By the way, this man eats pizza with a fork and knife while drinking orange soda.
Eating a pepperoni pizza with a knife and fork is so much more civilized than eating with one's hands.
How can you not love this man? Though he does have a weird thing for cactuses.
What do you want?
Tell me, do you like cactuses?
Huh?
Never mind. I'm not fond of cactuses. I dislike them so much that they are all I can think about at this time. Why is that, do you think? So why then do I despise cactuses? Do you want to know the reason for this?
Nope, I don't care.
Of course you're curious. Go ahead, ask me.
No, I said I really don't care.
Oh, is that so?
Now let's talk about the hero of this story, Jenga Hagane, the main character and the overall hero of this story. He lost his father when he was trying to stop Ryuga from stealing the Dark Beyblade El Drago. Jenga is calm and collected, like a big brother to everyone around him. We see his flaws really start to come out when he meets Ryuga again. He snaps and attacks relentlessly without thinking, going against his own teachings about what Beyblade is for revenge. Of course, he loses and learns a lesson. Revenge is not the answer. He learns to trust others and put them before himself. Made him realize he can't do things alone anymore, that he needs to see his Beyblade as a partner as well, not just a tool to win with. My favorite scene from Metal Fusion is when Jenga meets Phoenix, who we later learn is actually Jenga's father. Jenga was being careless with his point counter, a thing that you collect points on to reach Battle Bladers, where he would be able to fight Ryuga again. The counter gets stolen by a character called Tetsune Horigani, who Phoenix gets it from. Phoenix makes Jenga have to fight him to get the counter back, but Jenga's careless and loses the fight.
This is the weakness in your will.
I refuse to believe it!
Believe it! Using all of one's strength. It's easy just to say it, but this is what you need to do. Defeat means losing everything.
What?
Remember that, Jenga. Your willpower is weakening. Understand?
It's true. It's just as you said. My will as a blader was lacking. Losing to you and losing all of my points made me realize that for the first time. And yet, I can't just stop now. I will start again from square one. No, from zero. From now until I win Battle Bladers. I will not lose again. The next time I lose will be the time I quit Beyblade. Just you watch. It's still not over yet. I'll give everything I have into getting back what I lost in my battle with you.
Very good. That's the willpower you need, Jenga. Yeah.
This scene shows a massive change in the character. He can't fool around anymore. It's all or nothing now. Stuff like this you would never see in shows nowadays. Like, what show can you think of resets its main character back to square one, let alone have his father, who he thought was dead, do it? Ryo is a great character. A father that cares for his child, but also has to keep himself hidden because he knows his son can only grow without him. Since when he was a child, Jenga relied on Reno to teach him everything. You can tell how much it hurts to not be able to tell his son he's alive, but in the end, it did make Jenga a strong person and blader. Though it still adds some nice childhood trauma with watching your father quote-unquote die just to meet him many years later, and then you realize he's been following and watching you the entire time? Now let's talk about the end of Metal Fusion. I love the way they ended it, honestly. The last couple episodes were about Jenga fighting against Ryuga in the final round of Battle Bladers. This fight looks amazing. Basically, it has elements of fights throughout the entire season. It is a very back and forth fight, but we learn why Jenga can't win. He's fighting for everyone but one. Once he realizes he also needs to save Ryuga from the control of El Drago, he is able to win the fight. After El Drago is defeated, Pegasus is very weak. The tower falls, and Pegasus uses the last of its strength to get Jenga and Ryuga safely down to the ground. The Beyblade basically sacrifices itself to save both of them. Pegasus fades away into the stars as Jenga just stands there, shocked. He just lost his partner. Pegasus is more than a tool to win. They were the one there with Jenga from every step of this journey. While everybody else is celebrating, all Jenga can do is look at the sky. After all, what is a blader without his Beyblade? This hits hard. It's not a happy or sad ending, but a perfect bittersweet ending to an amazing show. After all journeys must come to an end. Personally, I think this would have been a great ending to the show and series overall. But they created 3 more seasons, eras, whatever one you want to call it. But they will never compare to the magic of this one. See, the other 3 seasons just don't hit as hard. They all have the, oh, Jenga saves the day type ending. Nothing near as powerful as the end of the first season. In Shogun Steel, Jenga is just a side character that needs help from the new generation of Beyblade. Shogun Steel died almost right away from people not liking it, so we're gonna talk only a little bit about it. Let's start in order and talk about Metal Masters next. Ugh. Metal Masters, I'm gonna be honest, I'm very mixed about this season. Metal Masters is about Jenga and his friends climbing through the ranks of the worldwide Beyblade tournament. Meanwhile, Jenga is trying to control his new Beyblade, which was the prototype of the Beyblade he used in Metal Fusion. Metal Masters lasted for 3 seasons and has the same number of episodes as Metal Fusion, but it didn't have the same impact as it. Mind you, I love the idea of this era. It is about having the characters we knew before getting to meet new people around the world, see new types of Beyblades and the ways people use them. We watched the tournament play out through the eyes of the Japanese team, but the story and the characters, they just do not compare to the previous season. The enemies don't provide the same risk level as the first season, so I really don't care. Also, remember this powerful moment from Metal Fusion?
The next time I lose will be the time I quit Beyblade!
Yeah, well, he loses the first battle with his new Beyblade in the first episode of this, so that means nothing now. Now, I know it's a nitpick, but still, not the same type of pressure at all compared to the stuff that came before it. Next up, Metal Fury. Now, Metal Fury was okay, not bad, but okay. This season was the end of Jenga being the main character. This season was a little sad to watch because sure, everyone's becoming more powerful, but you knew this was the end for most of these characters, and this would be the last time you would ever see them again. There are too many characters working together. It felt rushed. Like we needed to hurry up and end it so they could get to Shogun Steel. But we all know how that worked out. Finally, let's talk about Shogun Steel. Shogun Steel was the final chapter of the Beyblade Metal Saga. It was the shortest era of the Metal Saga, only made up 26 episodes. People were not big fans of this show. I completely understand why, because I was one of these people that did not like it. It was too different from the Beyblade we knew. Way too many new gimmicks. But it did have interesting ideas, but there was not enough to keep the fan base interested. Now let's just talk about what really made Beyblade so big for a second. Let's just be honest here, it was the toys that really made the show as popular as it was. We legit had a Beyblade version of Fight Club during recess in elementary school, and I know mine was not the only one. Like, Beyblade took over schools like how fidget spinners and silly bands did. I used to have a whole massive collection, but this is all I have left. The reason I don't have many left is because so many broke from playing with them so much. I won't talk about the new Beyblade toys much, just know that they are garbage compared to the Metal Saga ones. They are cheap, barely work, and just not as fun to watch, so eh. Now let's get back on track. There's just something so magical about the first era of the Metal Saga. I seriously encourage you to give it a watch if you have not already. I promise you won't be disappointed. Honestly, Metal Fusion can contest a lot of the shows we have now, as well with how well it's written. And I'm not joking. A show for selling spinning battle toy tops has more plot than 80% of the stuff on Netflix, if not more. The biggest problem with Metal Fusion overall is that it fully completed Jenga's quest and story so well that there's not many stones left to be unturned. It does not really give a need for any more seasons, and it makes stuff after that just feel like cash grabs. It dwarfs all the other Beyblade eras with how good it is, and that's a fact. Sure, the show is not perfect. Like I said, the characters show up and seem important, and then you never see them again. And some characters' reasoning for things seem off. And where are all the parents of the main characters? Because they're like young children, so are they just all orphans or something? But on a more serious note, though, that stuff can be overlooked because of how well everything is written and how well the story is told. So, in conclusion, Metal Fusion is easily the best era of Beyblade, and honestly, nothing else made about Beyblade will ever be able to take over the world like how the Metal Saga did. So stop watching this video already and go watch Metal Fusion. Anyways, Beyblade Metal Fusion gets Aragon's seal of approval.